All right, it's been a couple of days. In my personal life, my boyfriend's dog has cancer, and we're kind of dealing with that right now. And so currently, I'm trying to cure cancer. Um, Hopefully, we will, succeed in this sense. But I was very appreciative of John and Diasis doing that show with "Is It for Real?" and showing me on there and letting me interview, and I know they said some very kind words about me. But a couple things that I found very bothersome is the fact that they paid $30 apparently to get mistyped, essentially. And in these tests and these misleading tests are part of the problem why MBTI and just Jungian depth psychology just doesn't get respected, because the tests are fraudulent to begin with, because they test typed based on cognitive functions or letter dichotomy. And this is where it gets so misleading and so confusing, because everybody grew up differently. And so whether or not you were born an ENTP, born an ESTJ, born an INFJ, whatever your type you were born into, your parents greatly developed which cognitive functions you were going to use. And you, probably the first 14 years of your life, were immensely controlled by your parents, and you were told what to do, how to think, how to act, and you listened, because children do this out of survival. They understand that if they don't listen, their survival is dependent upon that. And so, especially when we're talking about two individuals who grew up around a very extreme religion, such as Jehovah's Witnesses, such as myself. And this will greatly, you know, uh, corrupt the test and make it very inaccurate. I actually spoke to Diasis about this afterwards, and about the comment about how the psychologists look down upon MBTI in the first place, because everyone kind of tests really strong in the middle anyways. Well, why is that? Because most people taking this test live in America. Most people taking this test go through the exact same schooling, same educational system as everybody else. Okay, so everybody went from grade K to 12, at least, more or less. Uh, and they all sat at a desk 8 hours a day, doing the same work, the same way, the same style, having the same obligations, the same responsibilities as every other person. And so they're like, oh, well, all their cognitive functions are developing in the same way. Well, yeah, because everyone's being raised the exact same way. And so you're letting nature completely, just ruin what you're letting nurture ruin what nature has presented itself. And so when people look at me, and like, I even had a comment about some guy saying I'm not an ENTP, which is laughable, because like, I'm in a real group. I actually been physically typed by C.S. Joseph, and no, I am an ENTP, but I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. And so they say, hey, you know TE too well. Your TE is too strong to be an ENTP. Okay, fair enough. However, ENTPs do have TE critic, and so they, have a measurable amount of TE. They're good researchers. Okay, they are good teachers if they want to be. They just don't like doing it. Now, my occupation is a teacher. Okay, that's what I do for a living. Did I get in this out of my? Did I choose this occupation? No, I didn't. I did it because I was in a cult. I was a Jehovah's Witness, and I needed a job that I can work remotely with. Why do I still do it? Because I like being a nomad, and I've been traveling around for 2 years. So I enjoy the job and the freedom it gives me. Okay, ENTPs are pragmatic. We like freedom. Okay, we can implement any system as long as it serves to our freedom, essentially. And so, if you look at an ENTP raised as Jehovah's Witness, I really had to develop the side of the mind that's the ISFJ, because ISFJ came across as more acceptable. But my father thought I was an introvert, growing up. He's like, man, I had no idea you were so talkative and you knew all this kind of stuff and knew this kind of thing. Well, yeah, because if a young Jehovah's Witness is talkative, is logical, and likes to speak its mind, you're going to get whooped. Okay? And so, as an ENTP, I have my developed, NE hero and my FE child first. Those are our first cognitive functions to develop, and I understood what my parents valued. really, really quickly. I understand what they wanted really, really quick. I didn't get in trouble over and over again. ENTPs are pretty good kids for the most part. When we do stuff that's would be make our parents upset, we do it in secret. They don't know about it. You sneak out. I did a lot of stuff behind my parents' back, but everything they knew about resembled a very good Jehovah's Witness Christian kid. Okay. For the most part, compared to my SP friends, I was definitely a very good kid. I'm an SI user. SI users are dutiful. They're very loyal and very, follow tradition and things like that. And so that is important to them. Um, and so those kind of things, if I was to take a test, I mean, I've always scored ENTP, but I've been told, I think my strength as an ENTP is I'm very balanced, and I have to owe a lot to this to being a Jehovah's Witness and being raised as one because most ENTPs are assholes. Let's just say it. In their 20s, they definitely have the TE critic. They're always thinking they're smarter than everyone else. They, you know, I mean, not that I'm the best at grooming, but I'm at least clean. And but most ENTPs aren't. Most ENTPs like to troll on the internet and things like that. And I used to be like that when I was younger, but I'm 35 now. I've matured. I'm grown up, and I've definitely worked the sides of my mind where I don't need to be that way anymore. And so I can pick and choose my battles rather than always arguing with people nonstop, like a lot of ENTPs do on there. And so, what am I talking about? What I'm talking about is you can't take any test. I don't care if they charge $30 or charge $100. If they are typing you based on cognitive functions, it's going to be flawed. If they're trying to say, hey, how TE are you, and they give you a bunch of percentages of how extroverted you are, it's going to be flawed. It's going to be misleading. It's not going to be accurate because everyone develops cognitive functions differently, and especially people who grew up in a very strong religious background, because the religion is going to control how you develop, and they're going to make you develop certain things that are you know uh, fawned upon. They're very fond to the leadership, especially in a cult. And this even includes people who live in very academic lifestyles. You could be somebody who's, for the most part, a very emotional, moral person, but you were raised by intellectuals. And a lot of those emotions you should have developed really were kind of, you know, tampered with and not fully developed. And so you're probably going to do that later on in life because your parents are just beating across your head to either be a researcher or be a logical person. And so you don't really develop your philosophical side of your mind of being very moral or ethical. Uh, and so a lot of how you were raised affects it. So you can't look at letter dichotomy. You can't look at cognitive functions. Also, what job do you have? Like I mentioned, I'm a teacher, and so my TE is going to be a lot higher because I'm constantly teaching children all day long, every day. And so my TE is going to be bam, 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 bam. I got to read a lot and things like that. And so, that's going to happen. And so an ENTP that goes for university, for instance, is going to be a lot better at paperwork than one that does not. And most ENTPs skip it. Most ENTPs hate doing their taxes. I hate doing my taxes. I hate paperwork, and I hate sitting there writing. So people are like, oh, well, you guys are the debaters. Why aren't you guys lawyers? Because what do lawyers do mostly? 80% of their job is paperwork. Okay? It's not about going to court and arguing. That's not what lawyers do. My boyfriend is a criminal defense lawyer, and he goes to court a couple times a month. Most of the time he's in his work on his computer. That's what he does all day long. It's computer work. You know, Talking to people, talking about what they want to do, and typing and filling out forms. That's like literally his job. That's what lawyers do. They're not Perry Mason. It's a very small part of their occupation. And then so if you're going to look at somebody and you say, hey, I'm this and this because of my occupation, you know, demands me to be this way. And so look at how many construction workers are SJs. A lot of them. A lot of ISFJs get involved in construction, especially if they were raised as witness. They learn to do plumbing, roofing, whatever. And so how strong do you think their SE nemesis or SG critic is? Very strong. Tom Brady, we just typed him as an ESTJ. How strong do you think his SE critic is? Very strong. Okay, so you think he's going to be very particular with how he throws the football and how strengthened that thing is? Okay, so is he going to take the test and get SE hero? Maybe. It's like, oh, he's so SE, he's so SE. Look how strong his cognitive function is. It's idiotic. You don't type based on cognitive functions. You don't type based on letter dichotomy. The only way to type accurately is to figure out their interaction style and their temperament. Otherwise, you're just going to be fucked over. And it's not going to lead to any kind of thing resemblance. And so I am an ENTP because my interaction style is starter type. I am very movement, I am very informative, and I initiate. Okay, that goes across the board. So that interaction style, the way I speak, the way I communicate in my ego, has to be ESFJ, ESFP, ENTP, or ENFP. It has to be one of those four. No ifs, ands, or but. This is how I interact. So one of those fours. Then you find my temperament. Am I affiliative? No, I don't give a damn about what's right and wrong. Am I systematic? Yeah, I am. Very systematic. Okay, so if I'm systematic, that means I'm not an SP. Okay, because I'm not interest based. I have no idea what I want. I have no idea why people want things. I have no idea about win-win, things like that. I don't care. It's about what's available, what I can do, what's true or false, things like that. So that goes across there. Am I affiliative? No. Am I interest based? No. So I'm not an NF. I'm not an SP. I'm not an SJ. So that makes me an NT by default. Systematic and pragmatic. I do what I want. I'm independent, not interdependent, and I'm very systematic. Everything is about systems. Bam, 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 bam. Following a system and things like that. And so that by default goes across ENTP. It has nothing to do with me having strong TI. Has nothing to do with me having strong NE. NE is completely based upon what your life experience, because NE is connected with SI. SI has to loop with NE. And so if an ENTP has no life experience, their NE is pretty much useless. And so if you're typing somebody based off cognitive functions, you're going to run into problems. Okay? And so the reason why I type Diasis, he says, hey, I'm radical. I'm all about wanting to move things. That doesn't matter. That doesn't make you an INFP. INFPs are background control. You are not background control. You are control, but you're not background. You are not a shy, little, quiet INFP who's afraid to speak his mind. INFPs speak in quiet. I mean, you go hang out with some INFPs. I mean, like, seriously, they're so sheepish, and they're just like, "Oh, just speak with a little cute mousy mouse mouth," and it's just like, yeah, they're brilliant people. Yeah, they have a lot of strong ideas, but that's not the way they do it. They are not aggressive, attacking people. Diasis is an ESTP. Okay, because he is direct, he is control. Whether or not, how you grew up, he's mentioned some things about his father, and that could have affected the way he views himself and how he thinks he's not an extrovert. That does not matter, because he still speaks in a direct manner and he still speaks in a control manner. He's not background informative control. He can't be an INFP because he doesn't speak that way in his ego. He is mainly always direct and he's always control, making him a structure type. What's a structure type? ESTJ, ESTP, ENTJ, ENFJ. Okay, that's what makes him structure. So he has to be one of those four. And then you look at his temperament. Is he independent or interdependent? He's definitely independent. INFPs are triple affiliative. That's all about being a part of the community and literally straight up communist. Triple affiliative. Three sides of their mind are affiliative. Okay? That's not Diasis. He's not affiliative. He's not triple affiliative. Okay? And so he is pragmatic and he's interest based. He's all about win-win, what's due. So that puts him as an SP. He is an ESTP. How his cognitive functions develop, anything could have happened and messed with that. Okay? And so him being a witness greatly affected the way he was. And so you look at John, he got tested as an ENFJ. He's not an ENFJ, okay? Is he affiliative? Most definitely, but he's systematic, okay? So you can't be an ENFJ who is not, they have no system, no systematic whatsoever in their mindset. They're triple interest, okay? Triple interest, double affiliative. All right, and so look at their temperament. Is he a structure type? He speaks directly, true, but he's not control. He speaks in a movement style. So his interaction style is movement, responding, and direct. Okay. Why would he come across as more extroverted than introverted? Because he was raised a witness and he was forced to knock on doors and give talks on a regular basis. Not to mention, he's a father, a husband, and he has a job where I guarantee he has to instruct other people. Okay. And so now he also has a YouTube channel where he's teaching literally every day. Okay. Just because they say, oh, the teacher, ENFJ, that doesn't mean anything. ISTJs are teachers too. ISTJs are professors. ESTJs are professors. INFPs are really the stereotype teacher. You want to look at who becomes school teachers? INFPs do. Okay? Who wants to become school teachers? ESFJs do. ESFJs become coaches. They always do, because ESFJs always want to be that manly man. They want to be that coach. They want to be that SP that they were raised trying to be, and they're not. Okay? And so you can't just look and say, hey, teacher, oh, that's me because I like to teach. Okay, ISTJs teach too. You're an ISTJ because you are systematic and you are affiliative. Okay, you are an ISTJ because your interaction style is direct and movement, and your channel proves it over and over again. Okay, so you can't look at cognitive functions over and over again. And then you even have the latest two videos coming out where should you worry about the future? Oh, what is the fear of an ISTJ? Oh, the future. That's right. What is the future for all my family, friends, and everything? That's how they look. They worry about that. They fear it. ENFJs don't think that way. They only think about personal feelings. ENFJs do not, worry about what everyone else is going to do because they're so NI. They're all about themselves and they're all about their own future goals and things like that. And so the futures, they're critical of other people's futures, but no, they're not. They don't worry about it. They don't fear them. And needless to say, he's not an NF. Why is he getting a lot more NF-ish like in his older age? Most definitely, yeah, because the ISTJ's subconscious aspiration is an ENFP. Okay, that's what's getting mixed up here. So you got to understand, as soon as you start messing with the cognitive functions and start talking about letter dichotomy and all that nonsense, you're going to get misled. You're not going to get your accurate type. Okay, so how you were raised, what religion you're a part of, how you went to school, what's your job, what's your occupation, who you're married to, all this affects cognitive function. All this will affect your letter dichotomy. And no, you do not switch and change types. You're always the same type after post-puberty. Puberty is where it stops, okay? Unless you get in some car accident, you get some serious head trauma, then it'll change. But no, it does not change. You stay the same person all year long. The way to explain this is the fact that there's three sides of the mind, okay? Well, technically four, but three sides that you really have access to. And so if you're saying, hey, I'm an ambivert, no, you're not. You just have an introverted side. I'm an ENTP, so the other two sides of my mind are INTJ or ISFJ, okay? Both of those are introverted. Okay, and so I can go into those mindsets and become introverted, but it is not my ego. My ego is ENTP. Okay, so this is what leads to the problem with this kind of thing. Anyways, that's my end of my rant. 18 minutes of this nonsense. Sorry about that.